Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, the second round of the High Point Racing Imsa series continues our journey here in Season 6 as the famed Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, nestled deep in the Ardennes forests of Belgium, is the battleground for the second of 10 rounds of what has already seen a blistering start to it just 1 week ago at Imola. Hello everybody, welcome along to the Racer Nexus broadcast network as you join myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and Marshall Crocker. First of all, I have to give a shout out to our colleague Brian Zinn. A bit of a sinus problem for Brian, so unable to join us tonight, so we wish him all the very best. So more to the point, it is going to be another rip-roaring run around this 7.004 kilometre 19-turn circuit to Spa-Francorchamps, established back in September of 1921. It's just over 1,500 feet above sea level, and with it being a very technical roller coaster ride here in the Ardennes, anything over the next 60 minutes could happen. We have 4 classes in battle: GTP, LMP2, GTD Pro and GTD AM. With that in mind, before we head to our qualifying, which is heading into its final 5 minutes as we speak, let's first of all take a chance to mention all the sponsors of the High Point Racing Imsa series. First of all, Hymo Setups, providing professional sim racing setups used by all HPR drivers and helps elevate the standards of racing across all classes. Each race winner on every single round will get a 1-month Hymo subscription. Next up, Monster Designs, providing custom race liveries, professional designs and branding for drivers and teams. Next up, Admin Box, an organisational tool that assists with broadcast, race control and operational support. It supports both league operations and clear structure. Next up, one of 2 sponsors from New Jersey. First of all, out of Monmouth County, Smile Theory, advanced cosmetic and implant dentistry with smile design, veneers, Invisalign and dental implants with natural results. Last but by certainly no means least, Colorist Art Supplies, offering high quality materials, professional custom framing and expert-led art classes for all skill levels. So, before we head down trackside here at the circuit itself, let's take you through the points as they stand after the opening round. And first of all, we head to our GTD division because drama hit Adolfo Perez on the last lap of the race, with Ryan Frankenberry taking the win with 36 points ahead of Adolfo Perez and Chris Snowman rounding out the top 3. Donald Ingram, Adam Bruce, Adrian Puebla, and a few others are there in the mix in terms of the GTP side of things. Then we go to LMP2. Nicolás Sanchez takes the opening win at Imola last time out ahead of Carlos Ruiz Padilla, TC Watkins rounding out the top 3, with Jason Blaine and Jose Valentin rounding out the top 5 in the division. Next up, GTD Pro, and Daniel Pino, the man from Chile, leads the way in the Ford Mustang number 63, ahead of Guilherme Chavez, the man from Brazil, with Jacob Gruber rounding out the top 3. Christian Ruiz, Matvei Kalstov and Yasar Nui rounding out the 6 in the grid. Curtis Polisu, the man that took the GTD AM win in Season 5. 37 points ahead of Landon Duggar, with Nicolas Lafrance rounding out the top 3. Keep your eyes on the likes of Donald Powell, Andrew Davis, Jason Lapan, Gonzalo Abascal, then Laporte and Habol and Bueno rounding out the top 10. So, with that in mind, a very good evening, Marshall Crockett. Marshall, good to have you back in the booth alongside me in a different capacity tonight. But firstly, our best wishes to our good partner in crime, Mr. Brian Zinn.
Absolutely. No, my pleasure to be here. It's been a number of months, Alex, since we've been on a race together, but I believe in our short time in our Cohen in a previous series, I believe we did in fact do a race at Spa-Francorchamps, and why not? My goodness, it's a commentator's dream, isn't it? You know, my favorite part about these races, getting to call races at a historic circuit, one that every driver has run on every sim for a number of years, is that you get every driver's best shot. You know, nobody can take the excuse, I didn't have the track, I didn't have experience. Every driver here knows these corners, all 19 of the iconic corners on this circuit. They're familiar, you're going to get each driver's best shot, and as a result, the racing tends to be closer, it tends to be more competitive. Guys tend to be that little bit more confident that they know what's underneath them, that they know they can attack, and that's why I love doing these races at this circuit. And I'm not going to lie, we saw plenty of lap 1 carnage last week, not just in chaos, off-track incidents, but just great aggressive maneuvers. You see them at Spa because plenty of passing opportunities right off the start of the lap. I'm excited, it's a pleasure to be back, but of course we're going to miss Brian this week and can't wait till he can make it back for round 3 next week.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of last season when I was driving on my way to the airport and you and Brian were in the booth and I had to catch an early morning flight. I remember that one like it was yesterday. But still, qualifying is into its final 60 seconds and Matvei Kalstov has put it on GTD Pro pole. Landon Duggar and the number 169 Lamborghini has made, and him and Pierre Laporte, they made it an all Lamborghini front row in the GTD AM division. Meantime, Ryan Anderson is leading the way in LMP2 for the battle for pole position, with Adrian Puebla, the number 21, who did not take, well, who was the man that finished a little bit further behind, because it was Ryan Frankenberry in the 420 Cadillac that took advantage of Adolfo Perez's last lap black flag to take the win across the line. And the 420 Caddy could be won with its 5.5 litre naturally aspirated flat plane crank V8 that thunders round the circuits. The Misfit Racing 420 Caddy could be in with a potential opportunity, but Adrian Puebla, with just a couple of seconds on the ticker left to go, could be the man that is going to take pole position overall for this race. We are set to have north of 35 cars around this circuit as the checker is out for qualifying. And good to see Landon Stewart has gone BMW. Wig Santiago in the Hertz Jota Porsche 963 makes his way through out of Blanchimont and into the bus stop chicane. The man from Puerto Rico. So great to see the amount of representation we have got. As, oh, Wig, that is not how you negotiate the chicane, I'm afraid. And that is going to bring his qualifying session to an abrupt end. We've got Brazil, Chile, Puerto Rico, the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Part of this North and South American convocation of drivers conglomerating on one particular league. We do have to say a big thank you to Carlos Ruiz Padilla, one of the HPR overlord, as he's more commonly known in these parts, as Jan Santiago Berrios in the number 15, another of the Puerto Rican drivers in AO's Spike livery. Goes a little bit wide coming out of campus and then heading into Stavlo. Well, that's actually Matthew Mitchell in the number 69. He did not have a good one at Imola last time out last week, Marshall, but Jan Santiago Berrios, he's brave when he's got Barbie and Ken on the shark fins to the rear wing on that car. Brave individual, but they do say that real men do drive in pink.
It's always been a great slogan. The most scary thing you can see in a driver is somebody who's not afraid to break the conventions and go for something a little bit more fun. Those always tend to be the guys at official race lobbies you got to watch out for. They're typically the ones that tend to know what's under them. Pretty clean lap so far from what I'm seeing. Did a good job opening the hands up as you often want to do. Just carry as much speed as possible. No need to put too much rotation in the car. Scrubbing the tires never seems to help at a true circuit like this, a true driver's track. Coming across the line in P3 in class. Not a bad run there for Barrios.
Yeah, as we have now got a cleared circuit because of the fact that we are now set and ready for our 60-minute race here at Spa-Francorchamps. The next round of the calendar will be in just a week's time at Circuit of the Americas. But air temperature 69 degrees Fahrenheit, 21 air, humidity 62%, wind around about 10 miles an hour, which is about 15 kph, and it looks to be increasing. Track temp 26 degrees centigrade, 79 degrees Fahrenheit. But as we always know, it might say 0% chance of rain on the circuit, but we had when we had the first round of the High Point Racing GT World Challenge Season 10 a couple of weeks back on Sunday, and you'll be able to catch up with round 3 that heads to Zandvoort this coming Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. So there is the calendar: Spa, then Kota, Silverstone, Daytona, Montreal, Watkins Glen, Interlagos, Monza, and Portimao. But there will be a little bit of a break between rounds 5 and 6, so a little bit of a summer break, so to speak, even though it's going to be right in the midst of September. But we are set and ready. Here is your starting grid when it comes to GTD, because more to the point, it is going to be the fact of, let's look at it from an overall perspective. So folks, just for the moment, please disregard what it is showing you on the screens at the moment. It's Adrian Puebla and Landon Stewart that line up on the front row of the grid overall. Ferrari versus BMW. Adolfo Perez and Ryan Frankenberry will be on row 2. John Drennan and Wig Santiago will be row 3. Lucho Martinez and Derek Tyndall row 4, with the Acuras of Donald Ingham Jr., Andrew Bruce, and then Travis Stevens bringing up the last of the 11 hypercars. Ryan Anderson and Carlos Ruiz Padilla will be next up on the front row of the Dallara for the LMP2 division, ahead of Jan Santiago Berrios, Nicolás Sanchez, Jace Larson, Ken Clodin, Matt Mitchell, Nicolas Lancier's Jason Blaine being the last of the 9 LMP2 cars, or 10 LMP2 cars. But then it's going to be Matvey Karlstoff that will lead the way overall in GTD, ahead of Guilherme Chaves, Daniel Pino, Cristiano Ruiz. Landon Duggan will start on GTD and pole. Alongside him will be the other Lamborghini, the 662 of Canada's Pierre Laporte. Tyshawn Green and Curtis Polisu will be on the next row, ahead of Jacob Grub. Then we've got Donald Powell, Will Atom, Nicholas France, Gavin Cambra, Gonzalo Abascal, Andrew Davis, Jason Lepan, Alan Bueno, and the number 13 of Jay Allegrini bringing up the rear of the field. 39 cars set to go into battle with the official iRacing BMW M2 the Cup safety car, ready to help bring us to green. It's always wonderful to see such a depth and breadth of talent in this series for Season 6 here, Marshall. I can't wait to get started here at Spa.
No, I couldn't agree more. We saw last week that, it wasn't just the drivers at the top that were either more consistent or faster than the rest of the group. There is true depth in each and every one of these classes, and in particular, it was fascinating the number of drivers we had towards the front of the field make minor mistakes, push the limits a little bit too far in round 1 at Imola. You see there the buildup of dirt that carries over there after that original practice and qualifying session. This track is going to have no grip on the very first lap, and the question that remains to be seen, maybe week 1 was an outlier, how much are drivers really going to push the boundaries here on lap 1, seeing like last week, long race pace, overall ability over a longer stint seemed to be what paid out and paid dividends when it came to getting the win, rather than picking up positions at the beginning. So we'll see. But last week, the one that I want to keep an eye on here today to see if anybody can keep up with, he has yet to roll off with the rest of the GTD grid, but Duggar and Laporte last week, they looked really solid, but Curtis Polisu really did just lock that group down, right? Even had that incident towards the end of the race with a couple LMP2 cars. So we'll see if the GTD field there of guys like Duggar, Laporte, and can keep up with Polisu, who only starts P3 in GTD today. Obviously, it goes without saying that the GTPs, there was plenty of competition last week, Alex. We are not going to be hurting for a good battle in the lead prototype class.
So it will be Ferrari versus BMW on the front row. Shades of Ferrari versus Team WRT. Or AF Corsa versus Team WRT if you want to use it from a satellite perspective in terms of teams. But the BMW M2 Cup safety car will peel off into pit lane. We are ready to get going for round 2 out of 10 for the High Point Racing IMSA Series season number 6 as the Ardennes Forest roller coaster is ready to roar to life. As the virtual fans in the grandstands are looking on, and we are waiting for the green flag on the start-finish line. There we go. It's time to go racing here at Spa. Whoever gets the whole shot ahead of Stewart. Perez looking to the inside here into La Source on the opening lap of this race. LMP2 just about to start their race in the background as Ryan Frankenberry and someone has gone a round. And that is going to be one of the caddies. Travis Stevens is one of them. Along with that will be Derek Tyndall in the number 12 car as Ryan Anderson getting things underway for LMP2, and he's bolted away from Carlos Ruiz Padilla to the tune of nearly 7.5 tenths of a second. GTD Pro has gotten underway, and that has got Matvey Kalstoff in the lead of that. Landon Duggar leading in GTD, as Andrew Bruce has Wig Santiago around the outside of him, and Lucho Martinez in the number 23 is right off of them as well, heading through into Malmedy and down into Bruxelles. 3 wide at the back of the LMP2 field behind Matthew Mitchell, with Jason Blaine, Nicholas Lanciers and Ken Clodin embroiled in that battle. Blaine Piggy in the middle. Meantime, Tyshawn Green had to start from pit lane. TC Watkins has not been able to join the grid, so that is one of the LMP2 cars, dropping us down to 9 out of 10. So Tyshawn Green not having the race that he wanted, and I'm not too sure if the number 20 Cadillac is good. Sorry, the number 20 Corvette is trying to do what he can. Christian Ruiz doing what he can just to move ahead of the field in front of him. And there you see Pierre Laporte in the U8R Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo 2. Of course, that car now being replaced this season with the new Lamborghini Temerario. As Gavin Cambrai gets a little bit of a run for his money, courtesy of Nicolas Lafrance, as they were heading through into Double Gauche. And Lafrance now sees Will Atom, the brightly coloured number 33 Liquid Moly BMW. Will Atom, you also see in competition in the Pro-Am division for the High Point Racing GT World Challenge Season 10, which heads to the North Sea coast at Circuit Zandvoort. Of course, this weekend, for all you sports car fans out there, IMSA is at Road America. And also GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS, is going to be at Circuit Nevers Magny-Cours in France for their next round. But La France through in towards the inside of Blanchimont. That is an easy pass on Will Atom, and he moves up another place in the grid.
See if Adam decides to test it on the brakes here into the final chicane. One of the most important things about Spa is that you really don't want to be giving up speed in the mid-corner or any real spot that is a high-commitment one-lane corner. You know, there's a lot of high-speed sections on these long straightaways where there is one lane, and if you have to check up to slot in or even to pass another race car, it can kind of limit your run off the corner, and you can, you know, let somebody take an entire bunch of positions just by a decision you make at the beginning of the straightaway. For example, having to check up into Eau Rouge and Radion, like we've seen a couple drivers in LMP2 do down this straightaway. Well, maybe you're slotting in ahead of a car, you're taking a position at the time, but if you're wasting momentum, if you're losing speed at the beginning of the straightaway, and a guy in behind can go flat out through Eau Rouge Radion complex, go full beans down the straightaway, often you're going to give up spots in bunches, and that's what you got to keep an eye on here in this particular racing series, where a lot of these cars have great slipstream ability, and a lot of these drivers, like these two here, aren't even racing for position. That's Nicholas Lafrance at GTD, and the GTD Pro driver of Jacob Grube getting his money's worth here in a battle with a driver in a different class. And that's one of those things. You got to balance how much am I racing drivers that, you know, we're hurting each other's race going back and forth in these long straightaways, but also balancing how much do I want to fight the drivers from these other classes. And I think we could agree here, Alex, as fast as these GTD Pro drivers are, GTD leader Landon Duggar, you see the Ferrari in front of him and the GTD Pro back of that field. These GTD guys are going to keep up, so we'll see how much the classes intermingle throughout the 1 hour time.
Yeah, Landon Duggar closing in on Christian Ruiz. That is for 24th position overall. Ruiz currently P4 in the GTD Pro division as we ride on board with the 662, the man from Canada, Pierre Laporte, half a second behind Landon Duggar. So it is the Raging Bulls of Sant'Agata Bolognese that rolling the recent GTD mean time. Guilherme Chaves in the number 37, McLaren 720S GT3 Evo closing in on Matvey Karlstov in the number 43 Ferrari. This is the battle for P2 in the division. Daniel Pino up the road in the number 63 High Point Racing Ford Mustang GT3 is leading the way, and Pino has jumped 3 spots up to the lead of the field and is one of the biggest movers at the moment so far. Biggest mover at the moment is Nicolas de France, up 6 positions in the GTD side of things, as he has got Gavin Cambria behind him amongst other people. Well, actually, it's going to be more than likely Jacob Gruber, as we see a little bit of close quarter combat. Jace Larson, Nicolás Sanchez, and Carlos Ruiz Padilla, the man from Puerto Rico, leading this battle for 3rd position. Matt Mitchell in the number 69 Spike livery from iRacing, and Imsa is also closing in. So that is a quartet battling over what is P14 overall, but more importantly, it's P3 in the LMP2 division as they come out of Speaker's Corner and head to this very fast double left-hander. Meantime, Lucho Martinez, the man from Mexico in the number 23 Porsche 963 Hybrid, has got Donald Ingham Jr. and the recovering Derek Tyndall. Travis Stevens, unfortunately, after that drama at the opening lap at the source, is about 3.8 seconds back. His 2 wheels on the grass. That's not what you want to do. You're going to dirty up those tyres, and the grip is going to be at an absolute premium heading into Blanchimont. But Donald Ingham Jr. for the Misfits Racing crew, one of the teammates of Ryan Frankenberry, but Landon Stewart is making sure that BMW MV8 Hybrid is keeping Adrian Puebla in the number 29 Ferrari 499P GTP car. Very, very honest indeed, and bearing in mind that Landon Stewart has the fastest lap of the race, the number 1 car, 2 minute 2.48. Last time round it was 2 minute 2.54 for Stewart, 2 minute 2.54 for Puebla. So it's very much even Stevens, but they have already bolted up the road from Ryan Frankenberry to the tune of 3.5 seconds, and that gap is increasing, Marshall.
It is indeed, and that's going to play right into the hands of Landon Stewart. The best thing you can have is to not have to worry about anybody behind you, right? You can start to, kind of get in a little bit of a rhythm. There's no urgency. You want to stay with the car in front of you, but with Spa, so long as you're set up so you're tuned out and you're patient enough on the brake pedal that you don't, lose too much tire, lose too much speed, getting in the dirty air, particularly through this middle section. You see actually Puebla running wider than Stewart here. He's able to just tuck in. You can stay at about this range here, middle sector, and just utilize that draft, and all those long straightaways can save a little bit of fuel. Maybe try the overcut by a lap on a couple of his stints, play the fuel game there a little bit. Landon Stewart's in a really good spot there, and this BMW, I know it doesn't get a lot of love. He's the only one in the field in the GTP class. Proud BMW driver myself. I couldn't use it for a number of years. The new updates they've made since the new Evo package came in, and now it's the most modern of any of the cars in the GTP class. It is quite a bit easier to handle. It's kind of a Ford Mustang similarity in the GT class. Kind of just, just one that wants to ride it out there. You need to be patient. You need to be steady with it. It can be a little bit of a slow turner, but when you really get it in a groove, it's quite nice in the long run. So we'll see what Stewart can do there in the long run as LaFrance keeps his move up the grid going. He's going to throw it in around the outside. A gutsy move. Gets given the room. Really clean racing there by Pierre Laporte, and he's going to get him back on the outside. He can use all the curbing there on exit. He gets up on that elevated high outside curbing to make the move. That was super respectful racing. Well, France is on its hair now, just 1 spot away from top of the class in that Valvoline car at Duggar. But I really respect the way that Laporte ran that there, Alex, and I think the guy that may win out is actually the GTD Pro car there of Groob sitting right in behind.
Yeah, so that is another move done by the Porsche, the 118 of Nicolas de France, up 7 positions, now P2. And as you rightly said, Pierre Laporte giving him great racing respect through Les Combes, Malmedy, and then down the hill into Rivage. But here we go with Derek Tyndall closing in on Ingham Jr. This is the battle for P8, 9 and 10 with Lucho Martinez just in front, and Derek Tyndall for Maximum Effort Motorsports a teammate, also runs in a multitude of other series, including the Apex This Porsche Cup Championship for season 28, which will be this coming Tuesday night, where that particular championship will head to, well, they've already started the second half of their season, but going Canberra, closing in, and this is going to be on Will Atom. Well, no, actually Gonzalo Abascal, the man from Mexico. And you can see the two Mercs trying to duke it out. Canberra looking for a way through, looking to dive to the outside of the chicane. Oof. Running in the Black Rifle Coffee livery. And that was very close. Oh, dearie me, the Corvette nearly gets caught out there. And that was Donald Powell. So, no, it wasn't. It was Tyshawn Green, who has managed to work a little bit of his magic as he goes round the outside of Canberra, going through at the source. That's a brave place to do it. But Tyshawn Green showcasing that he's not a slouch in a GTD car. He's going to try and go up the hill, and I think he has just managed to get through as Ingham Jr. right on the rear of Martinez and is now through on the braking zone into the chicane. Can it be the case that Derek Tyndall might also seize the opportunity? And great to see everyone watching in the chat here on Racer Nexus. Thank you so much for your company. Racing Mexico saying Vamos Adolfo and Lucho Martinez. And come on, Adolfo Perez, cousin of Checo. Oh, that's an interesting fact to know then, if that's true. Richard Bradshaw, let's go 19 and 13. That's Jason Napan, Jay Allegrini. And so the cheers are coming in, but there is Jason Napan in that wonderful matte black and chrome liveried number 19 Warrior Racing Mustang GT3. Of course, we're all very excited because Ford has started testing, I would understand. But look at this, Landon Stewart to the outside of Adrian Puebla. They are wheel to wheel down the hill into Double Gauche. Landon Stewart nearly had the inside line, had to duck out of it, using discretion as the better part of valor. And Adrian Puebla keeps a hold of the race lead, but I think it's not a case of if, it's a case of when. Landon Stewart in that very capable BMW M V8 Hybrid GTP Evo, of course, smaller kidney grills as Puebla comes across traffic. That was one of the Porsches he's just tried to get through on, and he's managed to get that move expedited. Landon Stewart is not letting the Mexican get away by any stretch of the imagination. They're going to go past Donald Powell in that wonderfully liveried Corvette, and Puebla nearly got himself caught out there.
Yeah, ridiculous amount of exit there that he took, going a little bit off track. Doesn't look like he has a slowdown. Probably would have served it there into the braking zone. But yeah, those are going to be the key moments there, Alex. You saw that the car, particularly that second lap car they went through the GTD class, as they're going through that high-speed left-hander. One car gets by. Puebla's able to go flat out through that corner. Obviously runs a little bit wide. Stewart has to kind of check up, though, to make sure he gets to the inside. He has to close the corner off a little bit. Those are going to be the big moments, more than just having a car check you up as one of these prototypes. Right here again, he's going to have to check up as Landon Stewart. Is going to have to kind of, okay, give it a quick breath of the throttle. See, he's got to wait to get all the way around the car. And as a result, Puebla's gap now goes up to about a second, where this time, the last lap, it was about 2/10. That's how we set up that move. So really huge, these little moments that are going to determine the race. And there is Lepan moving to the inside. He gets a couple. Actually, Stewart there got a trio of GT3s. Same with Puebla up front. So Adrian Puebla, now it's going to be up to him. He's going to be the first one to hit traffic. And I've always heard different things from lap cars, typically racing in series that are multi-class. I've asked lap drivers before, are you better at giving it up to the leader, getting out of the way because you specifically say, hey, this is the first lap car. You're more aware of moving out of the way for them? Or is it easier to move out of the way for the second car? Because once you're checking up to let one car by, you're a little more aware of the second. I hear every driver in every class has a different answer every time you ask, but either way, we're going to see who benefits out a little bit more. As Sanchez playing a little bit of bumper cars there with Matthew Mitchell. They were getting a little bit physical into the chicane before, and now it's Cloden going at it with him up the way through a Rouge and Radion. And it's one of those things here, Alex, that getting right up on the back bumper of one of these cars, you get in the slipstream, it feels like it should be automatic. Sometimes you're actually better to have that longer run, start from a little bit further back. I think if Sanchez, as it looks like he will, could just protect the inside, I think he's going to have him here into the braking zone, but we'll see.
Yeah, very much the case. And now from that perspective, it was just one of those things where you just have to sort of edge out at times when things need to work your way. And with these backmarker traffic, you know, we're into the first 15 minutes of this race, and more to the point, it is the, you know, in many respects, it could be the fact of GTDs having their own battle, as Laporte is having another battle with Jacob Gruber there in the wonderful Marlborough liveried Ferrari, and that is a livery you wouldn't see in a modern day car, because that would be outlawed. Quicker than you could say the word jump, but Jacob Gruber gets a little bit of the elbows out. Treatment by Pierre Laporte. That is a battle for position. That's for 27th on the road, but Pierre Laporte, more importantly, is trying to keep with Nicholas de France, but he is hemorrhaging time to the Porsche in front, and here come the two GTP leaders.
They come indeed. It's Puebla down the inside there into the braking zone. Crucial moment for him to get by, and Stewart's going to get kind of checked up here because there's not really a natural passing zone. This is just a one-lane section of corners. Stewart going to break by on the inside, but again, he's going to have to close those hands off, compromise his exit. And we're going to see, I believe that's LaFrance, who's been absolutely flying through the field here tonight. Now he's got a little bit of GTP help, and this really can make the difference. And one guy I want to see if it makes a difference for the GTD class as traffic starts to affect some of the front runners. Kind of a quiet night so far for Curtis Polisu, who started up there P3 in class. Fellow Canadian like myself, always love a good Canadian boy, but he, you know, considering the dominance he had last week in Imola last week, Alex, it's not just that he's down here in P7, lost a couple spots on the start. His best lap of the race, only a 2:17.83. Best lap in GTD, a 2:16.77. So it's not quite the pace he had last week. Maybe could chalk it up to the car a little bit relative to how it handled in Imola, but Polisu may need to start capitalizing on some of these GTP cars going back through the field. Wants to hold that GTD class lead, as here we see it's Larson squaring off with Ruiz. Feels like a repeat of last week.
Yeah, and that's going to be very much the case of how you can take, as I said, it's just taking chances and taking an advantage of these possibilities. So from that aspect, it's, you know, if you get caught up in backmarker traffic and other things happening in front of you, you're going to be sort of put under the kibosh, so to speak. So it's about how you handle that pressure, and you look at the further situation that is going to develop over the course of this race. So from that perspective, you would have to say that these drivers, they are going to have to look at the pit stops now, because if they're a little bit further back, what does need to happen next of all is, are you going to slightly short fuel it, as Gonzalo Abascal trying to close in on Will Atom. This is for P4 in the GTD side of things. That is the battle for P30, P31 overall. But still, 38 cars out of the 39 are still running at the moment. But Ingram Jr., oh, he's got past John Trennan, and there's Derek Tyndall. It's a line astern between three GTP cars. Porsche versus Caddy versus Porsche, and there's Travis Stevens in the background putting on the flashes to Tyshawn Green, saying, come on sunshine, get out of the way.
Indeed, because he wants to be a part of this battle. Look at this between Tyndall, Ingham, and Trennan. I'm so impressed, particularly by the prototype so far, the job they're doing to give way, just backing out in the clever spots, and then you'll often see a driver give a spot up into one passing corner, and then the next time they get an opportunity, they're right back by. These cars just right now so easily able to pass because they're so strong in different places that it feels like they're back and up and forward in one position. Really doesn't make that much of a difference if just a few seconds later you're going to get the guy again. Just great racing here. This class in particular so far, and I think the LMP2s are shaping up for a battle of their own. Kind of Cloden once again setting up for a new move on Matthew Mitchell. These two have been back and forth the entire way. It feels like from what I'm seeing, Mitchell is a little bit slower. He's compromised in this particular section. Every time Cloden gets the draft, he gets an opportunity, he gets by, and then Mitchell there in that LMP2 Spike Lara is really good in that middle section. This time he is going to hold it, see if Mitchell can break away and maybe go chase down Sanchez, who's right in front of him. Just, it feels like everybody not only is still in this race, which is impressive to see, but everybody is within 2 or 3 tenths of somebody on track. It's ridiculous how competitive these lead battles are.
Yeah, it is very, very ridiculous on that front. I completely wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment, Marshall. But yeah, the thing is that Landon Stewart, last time round, you're going to see, well, the thing is that Adrian Puebla lost 1.3 seconds, and especially he lost nearly 0.8 of a second in that final sector. Let's have a look at the Racer Nexus replay. So going through into Blanchimont, and I think it's going to be the opportunity that Landon Stewart's going to take. Late on the brakes, nosedives down on the BMW MV8 hybrid into the chicane. And then let's see, does what happens with regards to Puebla? He's going to get a little bit close as it's going to be in the draft going down into the source. Switches to the high side. Stewart covers him off. I'm wondering if there might be a little bit of a drama here for Puebla. Doesn't get quite the run out of that turn one, but Puebla is now starting to close that gap again as they come out of Speaker's Corner on the run down to Double Gauche, as we have just 10 minutes to go. I mean, these first 20 minutes have gone absolutely flying by. Jason Blaine in the number 11, Mobile 1, Delara P217, battling Ken Clodin and Matthew Mitchell for P6 in the class, and that's 17th, 18th and 19th overall. So with just 40 minutes still to go, everything is still to play for. Groob still with Pierre Laporte, and Will Atom in the meantime has dropped about 3 seconds back from the 6.62 from Canada. And I think the good thing is that Pierre Laporte is saying to Jacob Groob, if you want to get past me, you've got to do it on track. Meantime, Jason Lepin and Nicolas Lafrance, they are battling away. So Lafrance has had a drama somewhere. I think it's going to be an over-rotation. Right, coming out of Blanchimont. Oh dear. That's the code brown. Clean up on aisle 3. Bring the squeegee with you alongside to mop up the mess afterwards. That was nearly a repeat of Kimi Räikkönen back in 2008 at the Belgian Grand Prix.
Just classic, too much curb, a little bit too much overcorrection, but he keeps it off the wall there. That's going to be a clean Porsche the rest of the way, probably with quite a bit of a graining tire there as he takes chunks out of it. He's going to take about 5 laps of tire life off. He'll have to take a new set of rubber there on the pit stop, but stay in this race with the pace we saw LaFrance had before. He's pulling away back again from Jason Lepin just a few laps after that incident. So I think it's all to play for here in the GTD class. Generally speaking, he's really not that far back of the rest of the grid, but who did I talk about? I was saying there, Curtis Polisu. I feel like that car's got a little bit more in it. Still running pretty conservative lap times there, but he's consistently in the 217s. Out of the GTD class will run a really good lap. They'll run up in the 216s, which is the sharp end of the group, and then they'll make a mistake, and they'll have a lap, maybe a GTP, take some time off them, or a 218 or a 219. Polisu's just running a 217 every lap, and that's what he's got to do. 217 flat that last time by. Best lap of anybody the lap prior in the GTD class was LaFrance coming back through the field. He's already back into the 216. So he's got a lot of pace, and it's one of those things here, Alex. I wonder, just a cleaner race at the start for LaFrance instead of climbing back through, trying to make up for just P6 in qualifying. He qualified up towards the sharp end that he clearly has the pace to do. Got to think he'd be in this battle between Laporte and Groob, or maybe all the way up front there with Landon Duggar. Now we got guys coming into pit road for the first time. First pit service of the day, and it's unsurprisingly going to be the LMP2 class.
Yeah, not at all a surprise, really, mainly because of the fact that you're at full throttle for over 75% of the lap circumference here at this 4.352 mile, 7.004 kilometre, 19 turn circuit. The circuit itself, the variation, has been in use since 2022, and we are not using the endurance pits. We are using the standardized Grand Prix pits, as Ingram Jr. in the 34 Acura, 3 tenths behind John Drennan in the number 10. I'm not wondering about those colours on there. Yeah, Veloci Racing in the number 10. Looks very similar to the Daniel Newman Racing livery as well, which has a similar colour composition mock-up, but a very different scheme, let's say. But this battle really raging on as once again Laporte and Groob into battle as the two GT3 cars make their way into Blanchimont at about 230 plus kilometres an hour on the power all the way through the corner. And in the meantime, well, this is where we see how difficult sometimes it can be. You might be in the toe of the car in front, so that aero wash can be quite deadly, especially if you are right on the rear of the rear diffuser of the car in front. We're going to have a look at another replay here, and this is going to be with John Drennan, and it's into turn 1 at the source, and Drennan has just locked it up under braking, rotated the back end. So Donald Ingham Jr. goes through. There goes Travis Stevens as well. So John Drennan loses a couple of places, but unfortunately that stings his pride a little bit at the same time.
Does indeed. We're seeing Barrios has come down pit road here. P2 and LMP2. But I also saw that just a moment ago he potentially had an incident right before he came into pit road. I think he may have missed his pit entry, or let's see, may have had issues here under the entry into the final chicane. Good under the brakes, he's got it clean, hits the curb, he's okay. Looks like he's all right there. Maybe lost a little bit of control, avoided the wall. Not sure. It was saying he had a little bit of trouble on pit entry. I would be close to saying maybe he cut that entry line a little bit there. He came a little bit close. Keep an eye here and see if Barrios does end up with some sort of track violation penalty on pit entry, and it is a very strict penalty here, ladies and gentlemen. I had a race get uprooted here in the GTPs just a couple months ago, and a very similar incident. Just that pit entry line. There's pit entry paint where it's red. Right as you take that right-hander off the final chicane into pit road, if you touch any of it, even an inch of that red paint on entry, you are getting a penalty and you're taking a drive-through. So hopefully no drivers tonight. Certainly none of the contenders have to deal with a situation like that. But it's one of those things here, Alex. It's not just the on-track that matters. You do not get a second of break in any of these cars. You got to execute the little things. And last week, the little things is what some drivers that likely would have won their class ended up making the mistake in. So only 2 pit stops, but you got to be perfect on both of them. To bring this one home is Drennan. Now going to head down pit road after his incident we saw a moment ago. Again, likely going to take a fresh set of tires. I think most of the drivers, the optimal would probably be to take them at some point in the race on 1 of your 2 stops. Might as well take them on the first stop if you've already scuffed them up a little bit.
Yeah, and also the fact of just keeping a watching brief on those tires. We're just over 4 minutes to go until half time. The racing always is so fast and so frantic here at Spa that even us here in the commentary box don't always get time to breathe, even though we're talking a million miles a minute. But Daniel Pino in the number 63 car looking for another dominant display, and he's quite a bit away ahead of Matvey Kalstov in the number 43 Ferrari. Gap is about 4 seconds as the Chilean heads down into Lecom off of the Kemmel Straight. That Mustang sounds glorious no matter which track you run it at, as here comes Ryan Anderson, Jace Larson, Carlos Ruiz Padilla. Looks like the LMP2 cars are going to be circulating for their first set of pit stops, which is quite surprising because I would have thought that the GTPs would have been in earlier, but everyone seems to be coming in. So Anderson, Larson, Ruiz Padilla, Sanchez, Clodin, they are all in. So is Nicolas Lancier. So this is going to give an opportunity to the likes of Jan Santiago Berrios, Jason Lane and Matthew Mitchell to maybe make some opportunistic moves. But I would say at this moment, Berrios is probably going to be the only driver that's going to make any sort of moves up the order, as Landon Stewart decides to duck out of the battle just 3 minutes before half-time. So it could be the case that the GTPs might be able to make it a one-stopper with the majority of the LMP2 fields, as Sanchez is now ahead of Jan Santiago Berrios. Larson, Ruiz Padilla, 30.35 seconds in pit lane, which says to me, I would say that tyres will have been taken on the number 14 Dallara P217 HPR machine. Nicolas Lancier is out after 27 3/4 seconds. As here we come, influx of GTPs. Stewart, Frankenberry, Bruce, Stevens, Tyndall, they are all in the pit lane. Whereas Puebla, Perez, Ingham Jr., Martinez, they are all, well, Landon Stewart has got himself into a really good spot here in the number 1 car, Marshall, that he did a 24.93 second pit stop on lap number 13. He's already out, he's in P4, so once Puebla, Perez, Ingham Jr., they start circling through the pit lane as Christian Ruiz dives into the pit lane from P4 in GTD Pro, then that will put Landon Stewart as the de facto race leader. It could even put Ryan Frankenberry and Week Santiago to complete the initial top 3 after these pit stops are concluded.
It certainly will, but I'm going to be very curious to see what Puebla, Perez, and Ingham here do the rest of the way on fuel, because you see the timer up there in the top corner. Obviously, you do the quick math. You cut the race in half. If these guys are going right to the end of the tank of fuel, going to be very close to running the race on a one-stopper. And I'll tell you, as a driver's perspective, when you not only go out the extra lap, you know for Puebla, he's saved more fuel seemingly than Landon Stewart. You get that little bit of extra confidence of, oh, I don't need to save that much. I just need a few lift and coast. I need to be a little bit more patient. I need to give you a little bit more conservative on the throttle, but I can probably make this race on one stop. And 1 lap here at Spa, if he can finish it out and get into the pits, he will take the stop here. 1 lap is a very long distance here at Spa. That's a lot of fuel to save. to go that much further here. 31 minutes on the clock. He's going to take the fuel, exit pit road about 30 minutes, 20 seconds. That's only a little bit of fuel save, but the only problem there, Alex, when you're the leader in the top class, nobody has to go further in the race distance than you. It's going to be tough, but keep an eye on himself, Perez, and Ingham. Because really, I think you're totally right. I think that was a great stop by Stewart. I think he's going to be quick in the race if he can get through traffic here on the outlap. But I'm going to be very curious to see if Puebla maybe doesn't fight Stewart so hard in the second half of the race. Says, hey, I know I have you on fuel a little bit. You can put the dagger in it more or less if you can save just a little bit more on this final stint.
Yeah, with that in mind, we're about to hit half-time, so just a quick run-through, first of all, of our sponsors here for the High Point Racing IMSA Series for season number 6. Firstly, to our title sponsor, Hymo Setups, providing professional sim racing setups used by High Point Racing drivers, helps to elevate the standard of racing across all classes. Monster Designs with custom race liveries, professional designs and branding for drivers and teams. That is our second of 5 sponsors. Next up, we head to Admin Box, an organizational tool that supports league operation and structures, helps with broadcast, race control and operational support. Penultimately, based out of Monmouth County, New Jersey, the Advanced Cosmetic and Implant Dentistry Smile Theory, providing smile design, veneers, Invisalign and dental implants with natural results. And last but by no means least, also based out of New Jersey, Colorist Art Supplies, offering high quality materials, professional custom framing and expert led classes for all skill levels wanting to learn art. Right, let's run you down on a top 5 throwdown, so to speak, on our respective classes. Landon Stewart leads us on lap number 15 in the overall classification and in the GTP. In the number 1 BMW MV8 Hybrid, ahead of the number 21 of Mexico's Adrian Puebla. Lucho Martinez makes it a Mexican 2-3 at the moment. The number 23 rounding out the top 3 in the Porsche 963. Ryan Frankenberry, the leading Cadillac, in 4th, and then Adolfo Perez, the number 92, rounding out your top 5. LMP2, it is Ryan Anderson in the number 42 Delora that leads the way by nearly 4 seconds ahead of the number 2 of Nicolás Sanchez. Then we go a further 1.3 seconds back to the man that's decided to put Barbie on his car. Jan Santiago Berrios from Puerto Rico in the number 15 rounds out the top 3 with the number 24 of Jace Larson and the number 14 of Carlos Ruiz Padilla, rounding out your top 5 in LMP2. In GTD Pro, it's Chile's Daniel Pino in the number 63 Ford Mustang, leading ahead of the number 43 Ferrari of Matvey Karstov. Guilherme Chavez in the number 37 McLaren rounds out the top 3, a further 3.3 seconds back, with Jacob Grube in the number 18 Ferrari and Tyshawn Green in the number 20 Corvette, rounding out your top 5. Landon Duggar in the number 169 Valvoline Lamborghini leads the way in GTD, ahead of Pierre Laporte by just over a second. The number 662 for Canada running in the second spot. Will Atom in the number 33 Liquimolly BMW M4 GT3 Evo rounds out the top 3 with Curtis Polisu, making it 2 Canadians in the top 5 of the 96 McLaren 720S GT3, and Mexico's Gonzalo Abascal, number 17 Mercedes, rounding out the top 5 rundown here on round 2, season 6 of HPR IMSA Series here from Spa-Francorchamps, as we see Lucho Martinez in the number 23, now being the last of the drivers in the LMP2 class, and he went as far as lap 15. That's a pretty good stretch by the Mexican.
That's ridiculous. I don't know where he found that time. The optimal, if drivers could make it anywhere near that far, would have been to stay out. So the fact he found 2 extra laps, good on you, Lucho Martinez. That is just impressive work there to, you know, it's very possible through the midsection, you know, just play it steady, play it easy on the throttle, pull your way through the corners. It's actually better on your tires as well. It's not impossible to do, but that is ridiculous. Unreal speed. Really not that far back in the field, so to be able to go that far, he's very much in play that way, going to go for the top 5 if he can keep that legitimate pace up the rest of the way. As well, we see a couple of the GTD drivers finally coming down pit road there for their first and only service of the night. Looks like the GTD field is going to do an easy one stop. You got to think the pros going to come in here any moment there as well. You see Duggar, Laporte. I think it's going to be a battle of Polisu and Adam off pit road. Adam should win based on entry, but we'll see here which of these 2 guys takes the lead, Canada or United States. Going to be the man from the U.S. just barely beating out Polisu. It's going to be close off pit exit. Actually wouldn't be surprised here if Polisu gets the run there with how close they are once they leave, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, on the quick pit exit, not the endurance style all the way down the straightaway. So keep an eye here. Wouldn't be surprised if the Canadian can get a good run. That BMW is pretty wicked in a straight line. Wouldn't be surprised if he holds them off. Keeping an eye here, Barrios and Sanchez since they came out of pit road. There's Barbie car going by. Barbie in a Barbie world right now. It is a good day to be Barrios, who has just been flying back through this field. Dropped a couple spots there early, all the way back up to P2 after starting P3 in class. The problem, Ryan Anderson's about 6 seconds down the road, and the pace he's putting down right now is going to be hard to beat as they go by the leader there. TD keeping an eye on the front battle, though. We're back in traffic here, and well, we know, Alex, this is where things are going to get crazy. As we see there, you see Puebla, the back end stepping around on him as they get into dirty air traffic, and the GTDs are going to do their very best, but sometimes just, putting yourself in too much urgency, you find yourself in a position you don't want to be in. And again, we talked about it. If Stewart can go the rest of the way on fuel, the last thing he wants here is to risk his race at a battle with Puebla that potentially, based on strategy, might not actually determine the race.
Yeah, very true there, Marshall, because they were trying to get through on Gonzalo Abascal, who is still running pretty well. P5 in the... Landon Duggar's had a moment. The Valvoline 169 Lamborghini has lost the race lead. Oh, no, and that has got damage. Landon Duggar, that is going to be... that has got a right rear that has seen better days. That is going to be a return to garage. And that is just off of Pouon. I will be not at all surprised. Let's have a look at the replay. Well, it's through Double Gorge. So probably what has happened here. Jan Santiago Barrios to the inside. And there is Nicolay Sanchez through into Double Gorge. And he loses the back end and wallops straight into the barriers. And then he tries to recover the car. The right rear is so badly damaged on that Lamborghini Huracan. And there was no contact. It was, there might have been a little bit of Mr. Netcode involved there between him and Sanchez, but it looked like from that perspective that Landon Duggar lost it all on his own based on the aero wake that was created in front of him. Yeah, just loses it on his own. No involvement by Nicolay Sanchez whatsoever, and that just goes to show that the aero wash from an LMP2 car could really upset the balance, and that's why car went out of control in the hands of Landon Duggar and has cost him a potential race victory there with 23 minutes and 40 seconds on the ticker still to go until we hit 0.
Yeah, that was even more violent than I think I've ever seen through that complex. You're totally right, Alex. He just gets in that aero wash. He's taking a wide arc. Like, really, he shouldn't be putting too much wheel in the car, but yeah, you see it never even for a moment has anything on entry. It's an immediate step of the back end, and you're just a passenger at that point as you slide through that corner. There's a little bit of runoff gravel, but you're carrying so much speed, and he probably hadn't barely touched the brakes at all by the time that happened. So Sanchez luckily gets out of that one. If he had been a little bit further wide, he might have clipped him, and you're not saving an LMP2 once you make contact into a braking zone. So luckily everybody going to get out of that unscathed, except, of course, Duggar, who is having such a good race, and really the pair of Lamborghinis, himself and Pierre Laporte. I'll tell you, behind the scenes, the Lamborghini typically not what you'd consider the meta, not really optimal for this kind of racetrack and the way it wants to race and its advantages relative to the other GT3s. But you don't tell that to the two drivers driving the Lambos tonight, because they have been in exceptional form. And Laporte now going a little bit off wide. There's a number of drivers here. I think there are some drivers who didn't want to take tires to be advantageous here for the pit stop time, that you're just sitting in the box. There's a couple guys that are trying to, starting to look squirrelier and squirrelier as this race goes on. This one is not going to be over till it's over here. Alex is Stewart desperately trying to flash the cars in front. He's still got Puebla in behind him. The desperation that Landon Stewart is driving with makes me feel less confident that he thinks he can get to the end on fuel, even with that extra lap that he has over Adrian Puebla.
Well, they do say, Marshall, that it ain't over until the fat lady sings, and she definitely has not sung her tune here at Spa. But it's just going to be it's just going to be the case of how you micromanage this traffic. We've got just under 22 minutes to go. Got a request from Ryan Nickerson in chat. For a clip, can you just flame Matvey Kalstov in GTD Pro? Let's see if we can find the number 43. There he is, coming down the hill, and a wonderful livery on this car. Of course, Matvey, last time out, was running in Season 5 in the Aston Martin, and he definitely showcased some good form there. But the thing is that Daniel Pino is on potential course for a back-to-back race win in the number 63 High Point Racing Ford Mustang. That Coyote V8 5.4 naturally aspirated V8 powered car is doing a wonderful job, and this is where a car like the Mustang is going to absolutely flourish, because with 75% of full throttle round here, as we have had a change, Stewart has lost the lead to Puebla. We are coming down to just over the final 20 minutes until we hit the hit the flag. And let's have a look. Oh, Carlos Ruiz Padilla. Okay, here's the move. Puebla wheel to wheel round the outside, the good old Slim Shady. Getting into Lecom, and Landon Stewart deciding, you know what, I'm going to make sure I've got a better opportunity, because at this point in the race, I think I would take the tact that Stewart has here at the moment, Marshall. Let Puebla drag me around the circuit. Okay, there's going to be a little bit of aero wash from the rear wing and the rear diffuser of the 499P. But it is going to give Landon Stewart that opportunity to exercise that fuel strategy straight away, as Nicolás Sanchez comes in for his second pit stop. That's interesting. So I wonder how long he's going to be stationary on his marks here in pit road. He's got that car pointed outwards towards the fast lane. So Nicolás Sanchez, how long is he going to be stationary for? 23.5 seconds, as Will Atom trying to make his wellies through on, well, Curtis Polisu is through. Travis Stevens now comes in for another pit stop here on lap number 19. So the games, they say, Mr. Crocker, are afoot.
They are indeed. I'm very intrigued by that Nicolás Sanchez pit stop. We know for a fact it's going to be a slam dunk 2-stop for the LMP2s. They were well short of halfway, so it is going to be the last stop of the race for Sanchez. It is a little bit early, and you saw him go up on the jacks, so he's thinking the tires are advantageous. You can see him warming them up, weaving back and forth down the straightaway, trying to get tire temperature in before he goes through this very technical section. It's just fascinating to see different guys really are taking different strategies here today, and what's blowing my mind was Lucho Martinez going 2 extra laps and then 3 extra laps over the leader, as we see a little bit of off track there from Sanchez as he tries to get those warmed up to temperature. But the fact that Puebla went 3 laps less than Martinez, who wasn't considerably off the pace, probably about 2.5 to 3 seconds a lap off from your race leader Puebla, was Martinez. It really does say that everything is up to play for here, and there's guys that are doing it on strategy, there's guys that might save a stop, and then there's guys like Nicholas Lafrance that are pushing for everything they're worth as he pushes the GTP of Tyndall to force them to go all the way around the outside, because he's like, I'm trying to set up for 3 wide. He's into the back of Camber there on entry, and he just he was going to find his spot on the inside. Camber said, I'm going to try to hold you off as much as he could, and I don't think he was ready for how aggressive Lafrance was willing to go. He is on a charge through the field. The Porsche has to get the elbows out a little bit to take the last spot here in the top 5. Let's see a replay.
Yeah, let's have a look. So 3 wide as Tyndall goes through. It's a tough one to call. Might be a bit 50-50 on that, but I'm sure that Gavin Canberra would argue his case, saying, well, he just hit me. But the thing is that Lafrance could have actually might have a little bit of a retort, saying, well, hang on a second, I was halfway alongside you going into the corner, which he pretty much was. I mean, you look there, the contact point is around about when Lafrance's car was about 50% of the way alongside the left of Canberra's Mercedes. So let's have a look from here. Yeah, I think Lafrance might get the benefit of the doubt on that one if Canberra sends in a protest, possibly, but that's down to race control. It's just how we see it from our viewpoint, folks.
For my money, I don't really, see what Lafrance was going to do there. He gives him some space, obviously tight close quarters racing. I don't think Canberra thought it was going to get quite that close quarters into that braking point. I think he thought he was going to get given more room. Lafrance really pinches him up into that high curbing, and I think Canberra just turns down a little bit early. Might be his normal line for that corner, but unfortunately for him, car on the inside kind of dictates the corner in that spot, and Lafrance, I think, was ready to really open it up. May have squeezed him off there in the mid-corner, but we won't know because they never make it there. I think you're right. I think Lafrance is going to have benefit of the doubt there if they try to give him a penalty post-race. I think probably fair game for my eyes, but when you're operating in such close quarters and in such a high speed, high load corner, you're really at the whim of decision of other drivers, because everybody can see it in a lot of different ways. It's so hard to get through these corners single file. They need to incorporate the lap traffic in front of them. We saw the aero wash play a role earlier. There's so many factors, and for me, I think you let the drivers figure it out. You remember what happened, and they're both guys in the same class. If they feel the need to figure it out on track again later, they can do so in the future. I believe we might have more pit action, or we have a car off track. That's Frankenberry. There in GTP has gone off, and I'm seeing so is Matvey Kostov, P2 and Pro. So I believe we've had another multi-class wreck.
Oh dear, this is not what we need here. As Frankenberry, this is going to be heading through in towards the chicane, and that is, oh dear. Mr. Frankenberry, I think, might be pleading the fifth after that one, but let's have a look on the onboard with regards to Matvey Kostov, and you see the closing rate of speed, and I think really Ryan could have just backed out of that a little bit, maybe just lifted off the throttle, not gone hard on the brakes. And you're just going to see it here, like, Kostov is just minding his own business, turns it in, bang!
It's a big send. That's a big commitment send there on the brakes, especially with the car in front of it. Kostov, you're right, just closes the corner off to take his line, because he's thinking, oh, no way this guy behind me can make up that much gap in that much time. But it is ridiculous, the pace differential. These GTPs absolutely fly, and it doesn't matter, folks. You can run as many laps as you want in an endurance race, at a sprint race. It doesn't matter. You forget how fast the GTPs are relative to you as a driver in a GT until you see one of them do something like that. And I think Frankenberry, on his own, he was going to make the corner. I just don't know if he was going to make the corner with enough room there for driver on the outside there with Kostov. So luckily Kostov remains in the race, still P2 there in the GTD Pro class, but it's going to be a lot more costly for Frankenberry, who is still in play potentially to go track down the leaders if something went on. I think Puebla and Stewart are in a class of their own. I think they are going to have the run of the green no matter the way this goes to the end. But this battle has been the one to watch here between Paulie Sue and Adam, and Laporte is doing a great job. He's opened the gap up to about 16 seconds ahead of this pairing. So Pierre Laporte likely, I'm going to knock on wood here on his behalf, very good chance to take his first win of the season over this man at P2, Paulie Sue, who won at Imola. But this battle could play dividends again, Alex, as we've seen. If some multi-class shenanigans goes in, I don't think Laporte can phone this one in whatsoever, especially if, as I theorize, we see him go off in the dirt again a little bit. I think he's on old rubber and old tires. Running by yourself in a time trial can be difficult to do here at Spa. So Laporte, he's got to keep his P's and Q's underneath him, lest he get passed by last week's race winner trying to go too.
Yeah, and if you're on an older set of tyres and they've degraded to the point where they're nearly falling off the edge of a cliff, it's like you're slipping on an ice rink without any skates on. So forget grip, you're slip sliding away, so to speak. But Ryan Anderson has done an absolutely stellar job in the LMP2 division. He was not the person that put it on pole in the class, whereas Jason Blade has come in for his final pit stop with 12 3/4 minutes left to go in the number 11 Mobil 1 entry. As we have Anderson leading, Santiago Berrios, Larson in P3. So Larson having a better time, qualified P6 in the division, and now is up to 13th overall. And there's a big gap between him and Nicolás Sanchez, which is to the tune of about 34 seconds. So Sanchez has had a drama. Meantime, there is Sanchez being passed by a couple of our competitors who are going wheel to wheel into Lecom, and that was very brave from Andrew Bruce, and that was on the number 23 of Lucho Martinez, man from Mexico. But Jay Allegridi's had a bit of a code brown coming out of the source in the number 13 GTD Ferrari, so we'll turn the car in. And that was a little bit too wide off of trying to compromise with the compression, the little bump that you've got on the inside of the right-hand side at the top of the course at turn 1. Paulie Sue, in the meantime, finds himself 17.1 seconds behind Laporte, and bearing in mind now we have McLaren, BMW, and McLaren, BMW, and Lamborghini. Unfortunately, with Lamborghini Squadron, of course, they're deciding to end their excuse me, LMDH program. But Wig Santiago, first driver to pit from the GTP field. And bearing in mind, this is lap 23 of this race. And yeah, it looks like Landon Stewart and Adrian Puebla, they are now 1.6 seconds apart, with the Mexican being at the sharp end. Donald Ingram Jr. in the Acura ARX-06 GTP car has come into pit road. He's not the only one. Donald Ingram Jr. has come in. So I think we could be on for a potential splash and dash situation for those drivers in the top 5. Puebla, Stewart, Frankenberry, Perez and Tyndall for the GTP side of things. Matt Vikarstov has got to watch out for the number 37. Brazil's Guilherme Chaves, the McLaren 720S GT3 Evo, and the latter car that I just mentioned. That has got so much history as Andrew Davis running in this old Aston Martin V8 Vantage, and he's trying to go toe-to-toe with Gavin Canberra, bearing in mind that the Aston Martin does have the 4-litre twin-turbo engined side of things, but they've had to change it all for sports car racing, particularly in the FIA World Endurance Championship, which has informed everybody about what to do, what not to do when you go to the land of the rising sun. But Gavin Canberra right on the back. That is of Andrew Davis. But nevertheless, again, Andrew Davis doing a really good job here, just keeping it to the inside. Nice, calm, composed and collected. And a change has been effected, but it's not quite over yet.
Might be the battle of the day. Look at this. Oh, right as I say it, he's going to leave it there. That's really respectful there by camera. You really got to like that. He did. I actually do want to watch that back a little bit. I think he may have got pinched a little bit, but that was really respectful of him. Give the spot back. That's not how you want to do it. Good here. He's straight on the brakes. Dives it in a little. He opened the corner up a little bit. That's a respectful spot to give Davis the position back. You don't see that anymore. You don't see that in Sims. I love when you see that, especially these two guys. You're battling for P5 and 6. It is the end of the top 5 in class. It's an important spot, but there's a lot of space ahead and there's a lot of space behind. So you like seeing that, don't you, Alex? Just a little bit of camaraderie to say, hey, I want this spot. This means a lot. This isn't the way I want to do it. That means more to me than just taking it into the spot like that. As Lepan and Powell are the two that are behind Davis and Canberra. They're battling for P7 and 8. Is a little further up the field. I think we have another GTP battle. Santiago going back and forth with Tyndall. I think Tyndall losing out there up over Rouge and Radion. He lost a little bit of room, so we'll go back to this battle. Powell in one of the rare Corvettes that we see in tonight's running order. One of them, Tyshawn Green at the bottom there, a GTD Pro. The other one in the field here's Powell, trying to keep the straightaway speed up in a car that is very twitchy. It likes the short speed circuits. This is one that if we go to a track like Long Beach or something, GTs, this one's going to dominate. Spa is not quite its circuit, so he's got his work cut out for him. Does Powell here going up against the Mustang of Lepan that loves a track like Spa. See more GTD, pardon me, that's LMP2 traffic. That I believe the leader of Ryan Anderson trying to sneak by this battle.
Yeah, and unfortunately that's part and parcel of racing, but second incident Gavin Canberra has been involved in tonight. So he'll be breathing a big sweaty sigh of relief, mopping the sweat from his troubled brow and wondering, why on earth did I become a magnet for everyone else to yeet me into the shadow realm? And he'll be thinking for the next 7 minutes, please, 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 no Puntorino.
Well, I'll correct myself from an earlier comment I made. I believe I had the drivers flipped in the way they did it. Adrian Puebla is the driver of that lead group who was able to stay out the longest there on field. Ferrari goes 14 laps. Now, if you look at the top left of your screen there, the number to beat, 29. That is the money lap. If you can get through 29 laps here at Spa, going to make it to the end of the race. We really haven't seen Puebla and Stewart at the front of GTP split up this far. The gap now almost 2.5 seconds. The reason I think for it being, Stewart is in full fuel save mode. He, not even just to get the win, just to protect P2, wants to save. He wants to go the rest of the way. Puebla, though, he went 14 before. He just needs to find an extra lap somewhere. He should be able to make it to the end of this race. I think you are gonna see over these drivers' dead bodies in the top 3 of Puebla, Stewart, and Frankenberry. They are only going to pit when absolutely necessary, and if that really starts to cost them lap time, that's where I think Wig Santiago might come in, because he's the first driver in the GTD class to do both pit stops. He's going to be pushing like a bat out of hell. He's going to have probably better tires, and he is going to have that low fuel. The car is going to be very light, going to be very quick in these closing laps. So keep an eye if you're a Santiago fan. He might still have a very strong chance to get back in this podium, likely to pick the spot up off Frankenberry if that one-stop strategy doesn't come through. But if there's a guy I'm confident can do it, I think it is Puebla. Although keep an eye, because Stewart just found a full second there in that final sector.
Yeah, I think it is just all about those, you know, those millimeters, those inches you need to gain. And that's why Puebla is definitely getting, as we see, a little bit of elbows out between James Lepan and Donald Powell. This is for P6, well, hang on a second, no, P7 in the GTD AM class. So, yeah, they just need to be, they just need to watch their P's and Q's. So, Ryan Frankenberry on lap 26. That was the splash and dash, 6.3 seconds for the Misfits Racing, number 420 caddy. And now we'll be able to gun it. He's got to watch that white line on exit, otherwise crossing it early will then give a drive-through penalty. Derek Tyndall in for his splash and dash. But the big question here, the big 60,000 euro question that needs to be answered in the Ardennes Forest here, Marshall Crocker, is how long can Landon Stewart wait until he gets in? Because what I'm seeing now is that gap has come down. Landon Stewart, if Puebla pits, Stewart is going to have to follow him in, and then it'll be the race for the pit stops. That's what I said earlier on today in this broadcast here on Racer Nexus.
Well, that's the thing. So the problem for Stewart is that those two drivers that just pit, Frankenberry there and Tyndall, are both the drivers that pitted on lap 13 initially like he did. So he would have had to find 5 minutes of fuel somewhere. It is possible. We saw Martinez go 15, but even just aside from, okay, even if they both pit, maybe Puebla can't make it either, that extra lap of fuel, remember it's a long lap here at Spa-Francorchamps, that extra time in pit road should sign, seal, deliver this for Puebla. So if I'm him, there you see Stewart, he's got to come in. Less than 4 minutes to go, he came very close. Puebla here at this point, I'm playing it steady. If you don't have any issue with lap traffic, I come in anyway. You don't risk, if your fuel calculator's wrong, you're throwing away a sure race win. Trust yourself on pit road, take that safe splash of fuel, because you know your pit stop's going to be shorter. You already have a gap. Puebla just needs to bring this one home. Stewart, that one lap of fuel, that little bit of save 40 minutes ago there, Alex, that is what's going to determine this race, because I'm very confident. We saw Stewart, how good he was in that first segment. Remember, he always seemed to have a little bit more pace towards the end. Right before that first pit stop, he passed him and pulled away a little bit. Maybe that's why Puebla playing the long game with the draft. I think like you were kind of, you called it right on the nose there in the intro tonight, Alex. I think long run strategy, thinking about the fuel in the slipstream, taking advantage of the straightaways. I think that patience, that poise, that strategy, I think is going to be what wins the race tonight. For somebody in GTP, it looks like it may be Adrian Puebla.
That depends on how much longer he runs on this circuit, as Guilherme Chavez closing in on Matvei Karlsdorff, who is now 10.5 seconds behind Daniel Pino, as they get out of the way of faster oncoming traffic. And bearing in mind that we will probably, more than likely, looking at the lap times, Adrian Puebla, well, if he has managed to fuel save, that's going to be a pretty damn good job done for Mexico. But Landon Stewart is trying to really up the ante, up the pace. I think in one particular song lyric, it's called Push the Tempo, and that's exactly what Stewart is doing. He's trying to claw that gap down. Now, bearing in mind, if Puebla does pit, this stop has got to be absolutely picture perfect. 499 HPR Ferrari now makes its way out of Blanchimont into the chicane.
I think Puebla's going to pit. No, he's going to try it. The gap is falling precipitously. He is coasting for his life right now. He's losing seconds hand over fist. There's the white flag. What does that fuel tank have left in it for Puebla? Just watch the left side of your screen. 21, now 20 and a half. It's going to go to 20. I think he's going to stay ahead, but the question is, where is he going to run out? There's a lot of up and downhill sections in this lap, Alex. You could coast at home with a gap, but my goodness, Adrian Puebla's run this one close based on how hard he's lifting.
Well, bearing in mind, his last lap was a 2-minute 6.2. Landon Stewart has had a disaster somewhere at sector 1 on that previous tour, and he is 20.6 seconds behind as he we see there Landon Stewart coming up the hill through Eau Rouge et Radiant. BMW has been a very strong car in its return to the HPR Imsa series, live here on Thursday nights, live on Racer Nexus, and a big thank you to everyone that has been watching along. Really appreciate your company here at this second out of 10 rounds. But with that being said, Adrian Puebla is nearly 60% of the way through the 29th and final lap. The track temperature has been dropping. We're now down to around about 74 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around about 22, 23 degrees Celsius. As Puebla has just got to be careful. Keep your powder dry at this point, but he's going out around the outside of Jacob. That's Jacob Grube in the number 18 Ferrari 296 GTD class, or GTD Pro. But Adrian Puebla is going to make it 2 different winners. It was Ryan Frankenberry just 7 days ago at the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari in Imola. But here at the Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, nestled deep within the confines of the Ardennes forest, it is Anthony Puebla, the number 21 from Mexico, that is going to cross the line. He will take the win overall, and it is going to be by a commanding margin. And Landon Stewart having to take a splash of fuel. Jay Allegrini gets a black flag penalty on the last lap of the race. And it is going to be that Pierre Laporte in the 662 Lamborghini Huracan takes the win in GTD. Just waiting for a few other drivers as well. Ryan Anderson and also Daniel Pino. Pino is about 50% of the way through the lap. But, oh, Nicolas Lanciers has struck trouble. Lanciers has struck trouble, I'm afraid, in the LMP2 division, and has returned the car to the garage. There is the 04 car, I believe, but more to the point, Laporte has taken the win in GTD, and it is going to be the number 04. Right, well, the 42, Ryan Edison, out of the final corner. He takes the win in LMP2. And we just have to concentrate on the last of our leaders, and that is going to be Daniel Pino, the man from Chile. He has had a pretty spectacular run in this race, and he's up 4 spots from P5 in GTD Pro to make sure that he gets on to the top step of the rostrum and get that victory lane celebration underneath him before we go racing in 7 days' time at Circuit of the Americas in the Lone Star State in Texas. Daniel Pino comes out of the final corner, and the man from Chile has taken the win. A little bit of spinning around and a little bit of jocularity post-race, but well deserved from that man there. Led every single lap and increased his position across the line by 4. Based on the efforts that he has done tonight. What a race. More twists, more turns in the chapters that are writing the current HPR Imsa series dramatization novel, that you really need to see it to believe it. But after that race, Adrian Puebla won in GTP ahead of Landon Stewart, with Ryan Frankenberry rounding out the top 3. Wig Santiago, 58.4 seconds down from the race winner, Puebla. Martinez, Ingham Jr., Stevens, Bruce, Tyndall, Perez. John Drennan retired with just John Drennan retired with 14 laps to go. LMP2, Ryan Anderson takes the win by over 17 seconds from Jace Larson, ahead of Jan Santiago Berrios, who completes the top 3 with Nicolás Sanchez and Carlos Ruiz Padilla completing your overall top 5. So then we go to GTD Pro and Daniel Pino once again in the High Point Racing Ford Mustang. Rules the Roost finishing ahead of Matvey Kalstov in the number 43. Gap between first and second after the amount of racing they did, which was 27 laps. It's the case that we will very shortly be getting underway with our podium celebrations here by the grandstand. But still, yeah.
Just finishing off in GTD class there. It's Pierre Laporte finally bringing it home there. Paulie, Sue, and Adam, that battle that I feel like, Alex, my goodness, we called that one for the better part of 45 minutes there. That podium was a long ways in the making. Obviously, the Green Landon Duggar, the one we're surprised missed out there, led the majority of the race in class in the Valvoline scheme. Goes out with that accident there in the sector 2 there, middle of the race. Unfortunately drops off. Nicholas Lafrance all the way back up to P4. My goodness, it felt like he went down the field, up the field, down the field, and up the field again about 3 different times. Davis there in the Aston Martin. Good to see an Aston Martin doing well here in the sim right now. It's had a little bit of a struggle with some of the balance of power changes on the sim. Good to see it doing well. Canberra, Lapan, Powell, Bueno, and Abascal there, your top 10 in Pro. It was a great race through all the classes here tonight. A repeat winner here tonight in Pinot, but other than that, it's a lot of new contenders here, Alex. It's kind of hard to tell through 2 weeks, who is the top of the pack and who is just one of plenty of contenders here for some of the championships. I'm curious to see who can keep up with Pinot next week, but other than that, I think every class looks pretty much up for grabs.
Still early days as we've just concluded 1/5 of the 10-round calendar. Now it's time to turn our attention to the admin box post-race interview show here at Racer Nexus. And first of all, we're going to speak to our winner in GTP and overall pole position, checkered flag,
me.
and Adrian Puebla. All I can say is congratulations, winner chicken dinner here at Spa-Francorchamps. Congratulations on the W, pole position, fastest lap, and a race win.
I mean, yeah, what more is there to say? I mean, just drove beautifully right from the start, right from qualifying, just head down and just full focus.
It was a pretty interesting battle between you and Landon as Ferrari went into battle like it is in WEC and in Imsa at the moment. So the Cavallino Rampante versus Munich's Propeller. Landon really gave you something to think about in that opening half of the race, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, ever since I've started racing Landon, I've never counted him out at all. So it was awesome to be able to battle against Landon again, especially after him taking quite a big break. But yeah, no, I was really just fuel saving that first stint because really fuel, because looking into practice, when I was practicing for this race, I realized fuel would be a big factor. So just worked on my fuel saving skills.
And it paid off because you are our second different race winner, following in the footsteps of Ryan Frankenberry, who took the win Imola just a week ago. But in 1 week's time, we go to the Lone Star State, to Texas, to Circuit of the Americas. The Ferrari could be very strong around there.
Absolutely. I mean, with Spa being such a high-speed circuit, and also looking at, just iRacing officials, I mean, it's looking like a pretty good track for the Ferrari, and also with it being my home race, technically, so I'm really excited to go racing at COTA because just a lot of people tend to hate COTA for no reason, but I honestly love the track, and honestly, I'm just really excited to get practicing for COTA.
Brilliant. Well, Adrian, congratulations on the win tonight here at Spa. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
First of all, I'd like to shout out High Point Racing for, letting me race under their banner. Also, Hymo Setups for providing really good setups, which came in clutch for this race. And Landon for giving me a really good fight.
Brilliant. Well, Adrian, thanks very much for your time here in the admin box post-race interview show. We'll see you next week at Circuit of the Americas for round 3. Well done tonight.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, big thank you to Adrian Puebla. Next up, standing by with Marshall Crocker, we've got our LMP2 class winner as Ryan Anderson rolls the roost here at Spa.
Good evening here, Mr. Anderson. My goodness, is that one of the best drives you'll see here in an LMP2 car that I know it's a handful here at Spa. I know it's a lot to deal with there over the longer run. It felt like every class was a toss-up for position from start to finish. You seem to have it locked down there pretty cleanly there from LMP2. Was the strategy from the beginning break away early? Were you trying to play any sort of fuel game? What was the goal once you break away a little bit there in those first couple minutes?
Yeah, guys. First of all, thank you for the broadcast. Yeah, I mean, it was a really good race for me. It really started from qualifying. I had a really good clutch qualifying lap where I set a 2:07.9. And, you know, one thing I noticed in qualifying with the LMP2s is that 9 times out of 10, after your out lap, your first flying lap is just probably going to be your fastest lap just because the tire wear is so aggressive on the LMP2s. So got a really clutch qualifying lap in there, no mistakes. And then started the race on the pole position. Got a good start. Got a good jump on Carlos there in P2. And then as, you know, first couple laps go by, I'm noticing, you know, Carlos and Jam behind me are kind of battling for position P2. So I'm kind of able to kind of just really use my line and just kind of break away from them just because they were scrapping. And as far as strategy goes, really nothing much. I mean, it was just a simple 2-stop. There was no way a 1-stop was going to happen. I think some people thought about it, but there just wasn't enough fuel in the car to do a 1-stop. So really just all-out push. Spa being what it is, big track, big wide track. You know, traffic's not really much of an issue around here. So I just went all out, just set my best laps as possible, and ended up getting with the win.
You're running the APR CrowdStrike 04 car there that won Daytona and Le Mans this year, only fitting you yourself put it up there in P1 at Spa. Now, generally speaking, we didn't see you last week. No points coming into tonight. You take pretty much full points there in class tonight in the LMP2. Are you going to be a full-time fixture here in the series in this particular class in the year? And if you are, where's going to be your strengths? Is somewhere like Coda next week something you're looking forward to, or where should we look out for the 04 car at the top of the board?
Well, you could definitely expect me full time. I did win the championship last year in this series. The reason I couldn't make last week is because I was racing in real life at Watkins Glen, so I was gone for the weekend.
What are you racing?
I was racing Rush SR with Grid Life. If you look up Grid Life on YouTube, you can find me racing at Watkins Glen there. Weekend.
Sorry to butt in, because one of my good friends actually was, a fellow commentator by the name of Arjuna Kankapati, who's normally on Race Spot and does a lot of work with Imsa. He's part of the comms crew, and Alice Spiezia is also racing in Grid Life this year. So, I thought, so it's nice to have that IRL and sim racing crossover there, Ryan. Sorry to interject there, Marshall, but as soon as he said the Glen, I was like, oh, who else do I know that was there? So we have to give those two shout-outs as well.
So I was gone, had a good race there, and come back, have a great race here, back on the sim. As far as tracks going forward, I think, you know, Watkins Glen, Interlagos, and Monza, I'm pretty confident. I think Coda, Silverstone, and Daytona might be a challenge for me. But, you know, I'm confident in myself. Don't really have much pressure. I already won the championship last year, so just gonna keep doing my thing, just keep it consistent, and just see what happens throughout the season.
Good stuff. Well, us broadcasters love a good title defense story, so we can't wait to see what you can do the rest of the 8 weeks. I found the pictures there, your Rush SR race there at Watkins. We were talking about earlier in the broadcast, Alex and I. It takes something cool. It says something cool about a driver to run like a nice pink livery. Pink livery guys always seem to have good pace. Sure enough, bright pink livery there you're running at Watkins. So there you go. It comes full circle. It's been a pleasure, Ryan. Anybody you want to thank before we wrap it up tonight?
Thank you to High Point for once again putting on a really good season, making all these these leagues happen and these series happen. Of course, all the race control, keeping the race in check, and then you guys, the broadcasters, of course, streaming it to the public. So everyone playing a part really makes a league good. So I thank all those guys. So appreciate it, guys.
Beauty. Always a pleasure there, Ryan. Thanks for joining us up in the booth tonight. Congratulations, and I get the distinct feeling we're going to be talking to you more in the future. So all the best on the rest of the calendar. Good luck in the title defense season.
Yeah, take care, guys.
Well, good to hear from Daniel there, but we might have, we've got our GTD Pro, and he's the only driver to have won 2 weight races back-to-back. The man from Chile, Dan Pino. Welcome back, Daniel. Again, winner, chicken dinner. What win at Imola, win here at Spa. This campaign's getting off to a very, very strong start, isn't it, amigo?
Yeah, man. It was a good race. Mustang Prime, as always.
Yeah, I think Spa is very, very happy for drivers when they've got a car that can really go very, very quickly round it, right?
Yeah. No, it's very tough, the race. Like, my objective was or saving fuel behind the leader or trying to pass the leader and trying to escape. Well, I escaped, so I just put my pace in fastest lap every lap, and in a moment I was just 4 seconds gap, and I say, okay, undercut is impossible, so I can just push.
That's always a good mentality to have, like saying when you've got that gap and you still have the motivation and the confidence in your abilities to keep on pushing, where you won ahead of Matt Kalstoff by nearly 7 seconds after 26 laps. But next week, Daniel, we head to Circuit of the Americas, another circuit that's going to help showcase the strengths of the Ford Mustang.
I have no idea. Like, to be honest, the last time I ran Kota was in a NASCAR car. But if you think Mustang is a NASCAR car too, so
Very close.
I hope yeah, very close, to be honest. You take out the wing, but I hope it's a good race.
Indeed. Well, Daniel, congratulations for being our first winner of 2 back-to-back rounds in the opening 2 out of 10 races for season 6 here for HPR Imsa. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to in particular?
Yeah, like always, Carlos to invite me in the team. Jaimo set up that every, like I say always, it's get matched to my driving style. So it's perfect for me. Thanks to my team, we run endurance. So everything's good. Chicken dinner.
There we go. Daniel Pino, go and enjoy yourself, my friend. You've earned another victory here at HPR Imsa. We'll see you next week at Kota for round 3. Well done tonight.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Well, I think that pretty much wraps up our Admin Box post-race interview show here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for what has been an interesting and exciting second round out of the 10-round calendar here on Racer Nexus. More to the point, let's just give you a reminder of what's coming up on the calendar. Next week, we go from the Ardennes Forest to the Lone Star State. We go to Texas, just outside of Austin, to Circuit of the Americas. Then we go back for another trip over the pond to the island that is the United Kingdom, to the home of British Motorsport at Silverstone in Northamptonshire on the 13th of September. Then we go to the World Centre of Racing in Florida, to Daytona International Speedway Road Course on August the 20th. And then we do have Montreal. That's going to be a flat out one, and I'm sure the Mustang's going to be strong there in GTD. Then we do have Watkins Glen, Interlagos, Monza and Portimao. There'll be a half-time season break between Daytona and Montreal, so the drivers can have a little bit of a respite. But Marshall, what a day it has been that Puebla, Anderson, Pino and Laporte rule the roost here in Spa. It's really building to what's going to be an exciting season 6 for the HPR Imsa series.
Couldn't agree more. I'm having a blast doing this. Great to join you on comms here tonight. We'll see if I'm back in the background on producer movies, or if Brian Zinn is back here in full force next week. I hope he gets better. I hope he's feeling all right by the time next Thursday rolls around. But really glad to join you here tonight, Alex. There was plenty of great storylines. There is some just great driver talent here tonight. Really liked what I saw from a number of guys all through the classes, and it's rare you find a series this many classes that are this competitive, but that there's great driver talent proliferated through all of them. And tonight, Pierre Laporte put on one of the best drives of anybody. He's theoretically down in just the GTD amateur class, and yet somehow he looked like one of the best. So that says something, I think, about what we can expect the rest of the calendar. Some great tracks on that list, and when we go to my home track of Montreal, track I've had the pleasure of driving in person, can't wait to get into that, see what kind of multi-class chaos we run into on such a short lap. But we're not done. We got plenty more this week, Alex. I know Racer Nexus, there's always stuff going on. There's another broadcast going on alongside us. All sorts of stuff you can check out through the week.
Yeah, indeed, because at the moment, FMA, the World Endurance Championship League, is currently underway with week 7 at BIR. Special Stage Pro Trucks will be on the, well, funny enough, tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern for Season 13, Week 3 at Firebird and the Owendale Figure 8. Breaking Bad Pushing Limits GT3. Season 3 goes to Misano for Round 2 this coming Saturday at 11 p.m. Eastern. We'll also have Freedom Motorsport Gen 4, Apex This Mazda Cup, and High Point Racing GT World Challenge Season 10, Round 3 at Circuit Zandvoort. Don't forget, if you haven't already, like, share and subscribe. And a big thank you to the sponsors behind the scenes here at HPR Imsa. A big thank you to Hymo Setups. A big thank you to Monster Designs, Admin Box, Smile Theory, and Colorist R Supplies. This stream has been powered by HPR, Hymo, Monster Designs, Admin Box, Smile Theory, Colorist Art Supplies, and also Racer Nexus. So thank you for joining myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and Marshall Crocker. Spa is done and dusted as the Lone Star State beckons for what should be an interesting tour de force in the Lone Star State. Join us in 7 days' time as HPR IMSA continues on its journey. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in a week's time in Austin. Thanks and goodbye.